Hi guys, I'm Jim and this is Jim's Fix-It Shop, and today I'm going to show you how to solder copper pipes. I've had a lot of emails on people are having trouble soldering these pipes. He says one guy wrote and said about 50% of my joints leak and I can't figure out why. Well, there's three, I'd say, major things we do wrong when we're trying to solder a pipe. The biggest problem is we overheat the joint. And once you do that, you're going to get oxidization in there and the solder is going to go around that and you're going to have a leak. Then the only problem to fix that is you have to take the joint apart, sand that off, and start over. Well, now you've got solder on your pipe and in your fitting, and it's not going to just slide on there. Now you got to try to heat it and slide it together at the same time, which is a big pain. The next big problem is clean. It's got to be clean. Now, I don't mean once you get it cleaned and you touch it. You got oil in your skin. If you touch that, you're going to leave an oil print, and when you go to solder it, the solder is going to go around that oil and you're going to have a leak again. When you buy these fittings, a lot of them now are made in China. This one doesn't fit the best. It catches. They should slide right on there easy. They almost to the point where they fall off when you tip it over. You want room for the solder. Otherwise, if it's a real snug fit or this thing is bent, somebody dropped it on the floor when they're stocking the shelf and they bent this egg shape, you're going to have an awful time getting it to seal. So there's a number of things you can use to clean these with. I've got a bunch of these brushes. They're all different sizes, 1/2 inch, 3/4, 1 inch. This one's actually a 1 inch, so we're going to use it on the inside of this fittings. Stick it in there and you twist it a few times. And it's nice and shiny on the inside now. And we'll do the same thing on this teeth. Now I'm making this, it's going to be a bumper for my softeners in the house. The last couple of nights when these things cycle and shut off, they've hammered a little bit, and I don't want to hurt the valves in the water softeners. So I'm going to make this up, and then we're going to solder it right next to the softener on the supply line. Now these things go on the outside of the pipe. Unfortunately, I don't have one for 1 inch. And you don't necessarily have to buy them. I got a box full of assorted stuff. You can use a regular piece of sandpaper or emery paper, works the best. Just wrap it around there and give it a few twists. It's not as easy as it sounds. You want to shine that pipe up. Now once you get it all shiny and scratched up, you don't want to touch it with your hands. That's going to give you a problem. Now, third problem that we all, well, not all of us, but some of us had, I used to do it years ago. I went down to a local department store and they had, at that time, they sold plumbing supplies, and I bought some liquid Flux. It was in a little bottle, and you dripped it on and smeared it around, and I could not get my pipes to seal with that stuff. So my next door neighbor was a plumbing inspector. So I grabbed a bunch of this crap, and I went over to his house, and I said, I just can't get these things to seal. And he says, well, I see your problem. He says, take all this stuff and go back home. He says, I'll be over there in about 5 minutes, but before I get there, he says, take this bottle of Flux and go out in the middle of your backyard. And I, what am I going to do? He says, take it and go out in the middle of your backyard and throw that just as far and hard as you can. And he gave me a can of this. He said, this is what you want to use. Throw that crap away because it's never going to work right. This is a heavy paste. And you just get some, I use an acid brush, and you just smear this stuff on here. Now there again, you don't want to touch this once you get this stuff on. Or before you get it on. Get some more of that. We'll goo up this end good. I'm going to set that on that box so it don't get contaminated. Usually when I do a plumbing job in a house, I'll put the whole system together. I'll put all the pipes together, and as I go I'll clean them. Them little wire things work the fastest, and then I get them cleaned, I'll flux them, and I'll slide the whole system together. Then you go back and solder them. Because once you get a fitting warm, like this T, you might as well solder all 3 joints at once. I mean, why do it twice or 3 times? Okay, we got our flux on here, and we're going to stick these pipes together. Now these don't fit the best. I don't really like this, but we're going to try it. You turn them a little bit, spread that stuff around. Now, to heat it, you can get a torch, and you can buy these little things if you really want to. There's 14 ounces of gas in this can. I don't even know what they sell these for anymore because I don't buy them. This came with a torch set that a guy gave to me. It sounds like there's some in it, but I don't use it. Now I bought a new torch head. My other one quit on me the other day, and it wouldn't light, and when I did get it lit, it wouldn't shut off, even when I let go of the button. So we went and bought a new one, and it came with a can of MEP gas. Now this burns a lot hotter than propane, so don't use it. If you're having trouble, if you're not experienced with soldering or brazing like we do at work, you're going to overheat your joint and you're going to have problems. Don't even buy this or use it. It came with the head. I don't know. I'll probably never even use this stuff. What I use, I bought the smallest refillable tank I could buy. And this is it. Now isn't that just the cutest thing you ever seen? This, I don't even know how big this thing is. I think it's like a 6-pound tank. Okay, I got 6 pounds of propane in here. You've got 14 ounces. And they gotta be $6-7. I went down and had this filled at one of these filling stations. It cost me less than $2 to fill this tank. Okay, I had to buy the tank. They're not cheap. I think this was about $50. But this thing will last me for years. These are the torches that are nice. They are self-igniting. This new one even comes with a knob. I can adjust the amount of flame I get, which is really nice. But I've never used this before, so I hope I don't have trouble soldering these pipes. We're going to stick this pipe in the vise as if it was in your house. We're going to solder this one so it's going to be running downhill. This one we're going to solder upside down, and the solder is going to have to go uphill. Now to get these things to do what you want to, when you heat this up, you never heat the pipe. You put all your heat into the fitting. The solder is going to go where the heat is, not away from the heat. So you heat this fitting up all the way around and you touch that solder on there, it's going to suck it into that fitting and you should see it go all the way around. If not, that's because you got too tight of a fit, and well, there ain't much you can do about that. So you just reach around to the back side and touch a little solder back there. And the same with going upside down. You put all your heat into this cap, or if it's in the house this way, you heat this up. And you do all three of these at once and the solder will suck right in there. You just don't want to overheat. Now I'm going to stick this in a vise, and I guess we'll have to sit on the floor to do this because we're not going to do it overhead. My tank, I had an 8-foot hose made up so I could sit the tank on the floor and I could solder the pipes overhead without dragging this thing around with me. So let me put you on pause and I'll see if I can get this thing set up so we can do a little soldering. Okay, now we're down on the floor. Now another thing a lot of plumbers will do is they'll take a wet old washcloth or a rag, whatever you got, and if you end up over soldering and you got a big glob, you take a wet rag and you just quickly rub the joint and it'll wipe that solder off, plus it helps cool it. We may end up using that just so I can flip this thing over and do the other side. Okay, we'll get some solder out here. Get the torch going. And I hope you can see this. Like I said, I've never used this torch before. I don't know how it's going to work. Now if I heat this up, it's probably going to fall off. We're going to put all the heat in the fitting, nothing on the pipe. Spin it around to the back side. So take a minute or so to heat up. What you want to do is keep checking. And all you got to do to check it, you'll see it bubbling. The flux is starting to melt and bubble. Just rub the solder on there. You'll see it when it melts. You can see it suck it right in that joint. That's it. Now we'll do the upper one. Now if you want to, you can wipe that a little bit. Make it look pretty. Now we'll do that upper one. Maybe I better tip you up a little bit. Alright, now we're putting all the heat into the cap, nothing on the pipe. The flux is starting to run down the pipe, so it's getting hot. We'll put some on the back side. Now if this was up higher, you'd be able to see it better. But it's sucking it right up in there. You can go all the way around if you want to. Just touch a little solder on it. It don't take a whole lot. And that's it. Now you take your wet rag and wipe it a little. Now let me stand this thing up. We'll take a look at it. Okay, back up here where we're not laying on the floor trying to do this joints. But that's about it. 3 major things you want to do. Don't overheat it. Keep it clean. Don't touch it with your fingers. And use some good Flux. This is the brand I always use. I planned on doing this video, well, this weekend, but I thought I'd do it tonight. And all this stuff I store out in my old garage, which is cold. And when I went to use this, it's so thick it won't spread. So I used this other brand, which worked just as good. This is a brand I just used. And you can get this, I got this in a kit. You can buy all different sizes of kits. This one's for 1/2-inch pipe. You get the brush for the inside of the fittings. You get the small brush for the outside of the pipe. You got your flux and your solder. It all comes in a kit. I think that came from Home Depot. I buy a little acid brush and I just keep it right in the kit with everything else. It never really dries out and you just use it over and over. So I hope this helped you. If you have any questions or comments, send me an email at jimsfixitshop and I'll be more than happy to help you. Let me show you these joints. If I can get the camera up here, you can see where that's filled all the way around. And the same with this end. And this cap, that's the one we did upside down. Just remember, don't put your heat in the pipe. Put your heat in the fitting. The fitting will heat the pipe. When you start to see your flux running down the pipe, then start touching it with your solder. And the same with the bottom, it's not going to run, you'll just see it in there bubbling. That means you're getting close. So just keep poking the solder at it, and as soon as the solder melts, take your heat away. You can just flame it once in a while. Just kind of work back and forth and keep it to that temperature by going off and on with your flame, but don't get it any hotter. You shouldn't have a problem. If you do, give me an email and I'll get a hold of you and help you out. The more of these you do, the better looking your joint will get. That new torch I got, it burns a little hotter than I would have liked. And that's with plain old propane. So until next time, work safe, have fun. Don't forget to subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you like these videos. If you don't, leave me a description below and tell me what I can do better. I'm just here to try to help you guys out. So until next time, we'll talk to you soon.